He's joining now.
I will be here. Nick, thank you. Many of you may question why someone would admit to a crime they didn't commit. But one study found that false confessions do happen about 10% of the time among adults accused of crime. Now, of course, we're going to bring you gavel-to-gavel coverage once this trial begins. Be sure to download our free News Channel 5 app so you can get updates sent straight to your phone. An accident or foul play.
All right, somebody watching News Channel 5? There we go. Welcome.
All right, we got on.
Very good, very good. I'm glad you made it. We had not started yet. We were just about to do that, so. All right, Bill, do you want to take it away? If you will click, we can't hear you. If you'll click the top right of your screen and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Thank you.
There you go. I will call this meeting of the Hendersonville Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. It's April the 5th, 2021 at 6:08 p.m. And roll call is Bill McDonald, Ward 5.
Dale Dool, Ward 6.
Ty J, Ward 3.
My name's Ward 4.
And Paul Guthrie is on here. Well, he's just muted.
Okay.
And then for city staff, we have Timothy Witten, the Assistant Planning Director, and myself, Sydney Simpson.
Okay. Public hearing. Are we going to dispense of this or?
You can call it closed. We did not have anyone sign up to speak.
Okay, it's closed then. The minutes of January the 4th, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Oh,
So
well,
Don Ames moved to approve and Dale Dool second. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Bill McDonald says yes.
Dale Dool, yes. Yes.
Okay. Ty?
Yes.
Don? Don? Get you in a minute, Louis. I don't know what happened to Don Ames. Paul Guthrie?
I said yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. Paul Guthrie? Okay.
He's still on mute.
Okay. Motion. Minutes approved. Old business is none. New business. Sydney, what do we have in the new business?
Yes, I need to make a correction to the agenda. It had 0521-1M, but it's actually 0421-1M. It is a request for variance of the fence height from the 7 feet, which is allowed, to 8 feet for Lewis Oliver at 106 Hillwood Court. And so you all received a staff packet that outlined sort of the nature of the request. The fence was put up in late 2018 as a result of the neighboring property, which had multiple complaints for property maintenance issues, criminal activity, et cetera, et cetera. And so the fence was put up. No permit was obtained at that time. The house was then sold and flipped, and then a new occupant bought the house in 2019. And then we received a complaint earlier this year in 2021. I guess my assumption is that they put up a fence and the height was different. And so we had to follow up and measure the fence, and it was in fact 8 feet. And so Mr. Oliver, the property owner, is here to request the variance to allow the fence that's been there since 2018 to remain and to get the variance to be 8 feet.
Okay. Then, Mr. Oliver, you're the applicant, so you tell us what all you need and going on.
Well, can y'all hear me okay?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
great. This is a house on Hillwood Court, which, for those not familiar, it's behind the hospital. On the street that runs sort of parallel behind the hospital. It's a court off of that street. It's a house that Linda and I purchased in 1980. So we've owned the house 41 years. And initially, we lived in the house as our first home. And then later, we rented it out on occasion, and other family members have lived in the house. Next door at 108 was a family that I will not, I guess it's inappropriate for me to identify them by name, but they were well known in town. And they had a number of issues associated with criminal activity and failure to cut the yard and having junk cars in the yard. They had 5 children of all different ages. This was not a man and a woman. This was a woman with different relationships. The owner of the property died, and the lady with the children was the grandmother of the lady with the children was the mother of the 5 children, but was the granddaughter of the grandmother that owned the property. And she just basically didn't do anything to keep the property up. In 2017, my youngest daughter married Wade Evans, who was an employee there at the city. My youngest daughter's a school teacher, and they wanted to move into that house. So in 2017, we did quite a bit of work on it and allowed them to move into the property. But that didn't abate the problems that continued to go on next door. So finally, I said, I'll agree to put up a fence. Well, the property next door at 108 is about 6 feet higher. The two patios are about 6 feet higher between their property, which is higher than my property. And when you stay down on the driveway, you can obviously see all of the debris and the not junk cars, but inoperable cars. They had a dog that kept tied up to a tree. It was just a continuing problem. So I called Volunteer Fence Company, which is a local fence company that's been in business 25 years, and said, I need a fence over here. And I'd like to get something taller than the regular 6-foot fence. And they said, well, we can go an 8-foot fence. And I said, that'll be fine. And they gave me a price, and I said, fine, go ahead and put the fence up. All along, assuming it was certainly legal, and all along, assuming that the fence company had been in business here all these years, knew what the rules were. And so they come over in April of 2018 and put up a fence, basically a privacy fence on that one side only to the property, to fence and afford privacy between 106 and 108. Me owning 106. Later in the year, in 2018, in fact, in December of 2018, the lady that was there with the children and all the problems was forced out. And she abandoned the property. The property was sold at auction and purchased by a contractor who went in and redid the property and sold the property to a new buyer in early 2019, sometime in mid 2019. Once that buyer bought the property, that fence was there. The fence had been there through the contractor and through the current owner, who we've never met her before. I've never talked to her. But nevertheless, The fence is there. We put the fence up in April of 2018 or had it installed. And then earlier this year, I get a letter from Tim Nicholson telling me I've got an illegal fence. And you could have knocked me over with a feather, but nevertheless, he showed me what the rule was and we looked at it. And so it does appear that fence is 1 foot too tall, but yet it does, for the most part, screen out the property at 108. And so rather than tear the fence down or try to cut it off, which would make a mess, I'm asking for a variance to let that fence be 8 feet rather than 7 feet. And I rely upon the provisions of Tennessee Code Annotated 137207, which is also the local ordinance that talks about a variance can be granted if there's a topographical difference, which affords, it says, by reason of exceptional topographic conditions or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions, the strict regulation enacted under this part can result in a peculiar, exceptional, practical difficulty, and we can seek a variance. So in this case, my plea is that we could not screen out that property without having a taller fence, and we went and got a taller fence. And certainly, had I known that 7 feet was the rule, I would have got a 7-foot fence. But I also made the mistake of thinking that the person who works in town and putting up fences on a regular basis would know what the rules are. It would not install me what I consider to be an illegal fence. But I did install it, paid a couple of $1,000s for it, and it does work well. But now the lady who has moved in there doesn't particularly like the fence, and now she wants it out, having been there, lived there for a year before she even complains about it. Now, when the contractor bought the house, before it was fixed up, he thought the fence was good. He thought it added value to his property because it fenced it off from the property below. But nevertheless, the current owner has complained, and I'm now seeking a variance.
Okay, are we ready for questions for him? Louis, is this fence right on the property line?
Well, there is no complaint about the fence being on the property line. It's
That's
actually,
not the reason I'm asking that. If it's off of the property line, certain amount of feet, you can build it to.
well, no, it's
heaven.
not. It's
Okay.
on the property line within
Okay.
2 or 3 or 4 inches.
Oh, okay. Anybody else have questions for him?
I got a question for Sydney.
Okay.
Am I allowed to speak now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure you sent out the normal packet to the whatever the radius, 300 feet or whatever. And what did you hear back?
Nothing. We didn't hear anything. We had one lady that accidentally signed up for tonight's meeting that was trying to get on the planning commission tomorrow night, but that was it. The person that had originally notified the planning department has not contacted us.
Okay.
Chairman,
And I have just a general question about, I mean, obviously we're here because within the guidelines of us to vote on this particular request. So does that mean that there's codes or somewhere in one of the rules or ordinances or whatever that says, here's the elevation or the topographical needs to represent a higher fence line or something? Or is it just up to us to look at the picture or know the area, which I do, to say, oh yeah, it's just a steep enough grade where it takes another foot or so?
So the state says there has to be something, either a topographical challenge or something with the shape of the lot or an exceptional hardship that warrants a variance, whether that be for the setback, the fence, whatever the variance request is. And so, yes, it would be up to your determination as to whether or not that topographical challenge was met. But the staff determined that it was, on initial glances, for it to be able to be considered by the board. I talked to at least several people every week that don't actually come to you because they do not have the qualifications of the hardship met. So, you see some, we see a lot.
Okay, now my last question, at least for now, is so you said nobody signed up to speak for or against. You sent out all the paperwork to everybody and give people a chance to respond. Nobody did. So, but I have Mr. Oliver's volunteering the information that the neighbor, or the new neighbor, is complaining about the fence. So, am I supposed to take that into consideration? Even though that person should be here complaining about it. If he says, well, they have a beef with it, but they're not here to talk to this. So how do I take that? I'm asking what the rules are, not opinions.
Yeah, there's not any rules pertaining to that. It's you either are yes or no. There's not a specific. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much.
If I can speak to that real quick, you can consider whatever evidence you have before you. As part of that evidence, you can rely on staff who's gone out and looked at the site, your own reconnaissance of the site. So you can rely on the evidence that you have presented to you and that you've seen yourself.
Thank you so much.
There you go. That was a better answer.
Mr. Chairman,
Can I clear up my what I said? I have never talked to the neighbor. We just assumed she was the complainant because I inferred that from what the staff told me. I have never spoken to her, nor has my son-in-law nor daughter spoken to her. But we don't know who else could be the complainant.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
this is Don. I don't know if you can see me. You can hear
I
me?
can see you.
I would like to make a motion if that's acceptable at this point.
Yes, we'll do it.
Okay, I think the line of vision is the key factor here. I think it gives it a peculiar situation. Therefore, my motion would be that based on the evidence presented by and by reason of exceptional situation, line of vision, or condition of such property, piece of property, the strict application of any bulk standards contained within this ordinance would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties. I move to allow the variance of fence height from 7 to 8 feet, or to 8 feet on where it stands right now, but a stipulation that no additions in the fencing shall be outside the code. And if this particular fence needs replacing at any time, the future owners of the property, current or future owners of the property, must conform with the current codes. That would be my motion.
I second.
Any discussion? If not, then we're ready to vote. Bill McDonald says yes.
Dale Dool, yes.
Ames,
Aye.
yes.
Don? Don?
I said Ames, Don Ames, yes.
Okay. Paul Guthrie? Okay. Well, the variance has been granted to you, Mr. Oliver, and under those stipulations that Don mentioned.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all for taking your time on this pretty Monday evening to listen to this. So
That's
please
okay.
have a good rest of the evening.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great evening. Any other business?
Yes. So, in June 15th, the terms of Don Ames, Paul Guthrie, and Ty J are set to expire. Part of me wants to think that that's a typo, because how can we have three at the same time? I have no idea. But what the protocol,
I thought terms were for 3 years.
they are. They
So
are.
I couldn't be expired because I've only been around.
But you may have replaced somebody that retired early, and so their term.
I got the paperwork in the safe, so I'll go look at it. But
Okay.
I don't think it was this year.
He may have replaced Andy Bolt.
He did.
He did, yeah. So
Oh,
if you,
okay, well,
yeah, if you replace
thought that was
someone,
replaced, didn't
do what?
he? I thought I replaced Andy Bolt.
don't
Somebody replaced Michael Dumont, somebody replaced Andy Bolt.
I think
So-
I
I
don't know which
Andy
one.
Bolt from listening to the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting.
Okay.
So at any rate, yes, this is kind of a heads up that Don Ames, Ty J, and Paul Guthrie, should you want to continue on, what you'll want to do is contact the alderman from your ward and have them fill out a nomination paper with the executive office, which used to be held by Kenny Franklin, but is now Erica Miller. They've got just an application there, and then they will present it before the board for approval. So if you don't know who your aldermen are, let me know, but it'd be the alderman for your ward. And that's how you would move that forward. And if you're not interested, then you don't have to tell me that at this point, but you can just have a conversation with me and let me know. And then that way the alderman can nominate someone that they might have in mind or something like that.
after this, I'm gonna go ahead and check my paperwork because I do believe it says 2022 on there. I'll double check and then if so,
Okay.
I'll send
If
you a
that's the
copy or
case,
something.
then yes, send it to me
But,
and Erica Miller.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on, so my brain might be, I don't know.
Well, you can
Yeah,
go into the committees under the city and check it too.
Well, yeah, this came from that,
It came from that, so.
but I find it, for me, it just seems odd that there would be three expiring at the same time. Like that doesn't
I agree.
seem to jive. So,
Yeah,
we
especially
can
if
go
we're
back and double
replacing
check that
people,
on
still
our
would be
end.
on a staggered rotation, right?
yeah. And as Timothy said, we'll check it on our end too, but
Yeah, I'll go out and check as soon as I get off the air.
okay. But just wanted to give you a heads up, and we will have a meeting in
I
May.
know that's what mine said.
Okay.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Well,
Okay,
thank you all again so much. It was good to see you.
I'll tell you, I will not be here in May.
Okay, on
I'm
May
good.
3rd.
I'm going to be in another country
Yeah, enjoy that.
and hope to get back in, okay, this country.
You better
Oh, good
pack for
luck.
3 weeks. Just in
Yeah,
case
I
you're
don't
not
want to do
allowed
that.
back in.
Anyway, I just have to take a test coming out of Mexico to get on the plane.
Well, there's a lot of people complaining. We're trying to leave the country, but we're thinking against it. There's a lot of people complaining about false positives. Even people that have vaccines are testing positive.
Yeah, I've had the two before that they use in Mexico, and they've all been negative. So
Okay.
you can't go in the hospital and have surgery without having these things. And I had surgery twice, and I had to take one each time. So
All right.
anyway,
Before
other
y'all-
business?
Before y'all leave, I would like to say, we hope you do sign up for another go around. We really appreciate the good job that y'all do. You know, the BZA is one of the most difficult jobs that you can fulfill. I mean, the consideration of variances and a lot of these cases that y'all consider are very complex and obviously emotional to the people, to the applicants, because they're usually homeowners. But
thought
thank
the
y'all for the good
hardest
work
job
that y'all do.
I thought the hardest job was being an alderman trying to deal with all the trash problems last year.
That's a strong running, I think. That's in contention.
But Timothy is right, and you guys faithfully show up, and I appreciate that. And then you do, it is a hard job having to consider these things and like what is okay and what is really not. I would not want to have to make these choices. I'll tell you that. So I thank you.
Okay, ain't no other business then? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
adjourned. Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
Good
too.
deal.
Night.
Hey, Sid,